Well, considering it was so long since that last movie, you can say this brought the Jurassic Park series back from extinction. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel and another installment in my Jurassic Park review series where I talk all the Jurassic Park movies in the lead up to Jurassic World Dominion. And today we're talking about Jurassic World. So before we begin, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this movie were, if you already saw it or if you were planning on seeing it, and make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my content out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with more movie related content like the rest of this review series on a near daily basis. But let's not waste any more time and let's talk about Jurassic World. This sees a new theme park built on the original site of Jurassic Park, which creates a genetically modified dinosaur, the Indominous Rex, which escapes containment and goes on a killing spree. This is directed by Colin Trevorrow, who also co-wrote the screenplay, making quite the jump from his indie beginnings directing Safety Not Guaranteed, and it marks the first Jurassic Park movie in nearly 15 years, with production on a fourth movie having been in development hell since about 2005. It should be noted that an early story idea would have brought back both Doctors Grant and Malcolm yet again, before numerous rewrites occurred over the years, and it was decided that the film should just focus on an entirely new set of characters. And this time, after two movies set on Site B, Isla Sorna, the action shifts back to the original island from the first movie, Isla Nublar, with this Jurassic World being a fully realized version of what John Hammond wanted to do in that film. And it's also worth noting that there actually is one returning actor from any of the other movies, that being B.D. Wong as Dr. Henry Wu, who had a substantial role in the original novel, but was cut down to just one scene in the first movie. But he returns here in a supporting part as one of the primary Jurassic World scientists, and he's later revealed to be an antagonist, going back to his portrayal in the novel where that actually was the case. But otherwise, this is focused on an entirely new set of characters, with the primary two being Chris Pratt as dinosaur trainer Owen Grady, and Bryce Dallas Howard as the Jurassic World operations manager Claire Dearing. And while Guardians of the Galaxy boosted Pratt into leading man status, but with that still maintaining his comedic persona, this sees a further shift for him, with this being the first big push for him to take on more serious leading roles. And with this movie, after The Lost World divided fans and Jurassic Park 3 left fans disappointed, even though I think the latter is actually pretty solid, this was seen as somewhat of a return to form for the franchise, even if still nowhere near on the same level as the original Jurassic Park. Generally, when you hear people discuss these movies, Jurassic World is usually listed as the second best movie more often than not. And I can see where people are coming from there. It definitely leans more into the spectacle that was arguably missing from the previous two sequels, while The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 did explore a little bit of the returning characters reckoning with what happened in the original movie, and they each had their moments of fun. Gone was the wonder and awe of seeing something once thought to be impossible truly come to life. New characters in each of those respective movies visit the island for the first time, and you don't really feel like they take a moment to soak in these things that they once thought were impossible. Now you get a little more of that here, especially as we actually explore this park and the rides, and we see things through the perspective of Claire's two nephews, played by Ty Simpkins and Nick Robinson. This actually takes its time to show what it would have been like had Hammond's vision actually come to life. And when we first re-enter the park, we get a little bit of that old magic back, especially as we hear that iconic theme music kick in once more. And then once the action kicks in and all the dinosaurs are let loose, it definitely feels grand in scale and that the stakes are higher than ever, especially now this time the dinosaurs are on the loose in a full park as opposed to just a small group of characters having to deal with them. So now the destruction caused comes at a much more frequent pace. And for some mindless popcorn entertainment, it works well enough. But all that being said, despite moments that feel like they recapture some of the original magic, I have to emphasize that they're just moments. Overall, even with what this does well enough taken into consideration, this is still not a movie that I particularly find myself wanting to revisit. I like the movie enough that I can sit through it and enjoy it for what it is, but if I want to see something Jurassic Park related, this is not one of the movies I'd immediately want to put on. In fact, something I said right after seeing this movie for the first time in 2015 was that I think I like Jurassic Park 3 more than I like Jurassic World. And honestly, this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I stand by that. The ultimate problem with this movie is a problem very similar to The Lost World, and that it takes itself too seriously and its characters are not all that well written. I think the fact there's more excitement here makes it a bit better than The Lost World, but these problems are still very prevalent. Now, if you're someone who goes to a Jurassic Park movie and all you care about are dinosaurs wreaking havoc, then this probably won't mean much to you and you'll probably be satisfied with the movie as there's plenty of dino destruction to appreciate. But as I've said in my reviews for the other films, what makes the first Jurassic Park so special is that it had memorable characters with distinct personalities who we cared about, and it still tackled these weighty themes in a way that felt meaningful, but they also didn't totally detract from the blockbuster spectacle or make the film feel uneven. And this lacks both of those things, so it causes this movie to ring pretty emotionally hollow at times. Even though I found there to be exciting moments, I honestly could not have cared less about any of these characters. Like, while Owen and Claire aren't outright unlikable people, they both have essentially one personality trait each that's just played over and over and over again all throughout this. Owen is just in tune with the dinosaurs' emotions, while Claire is a workaholic. Every major moment involving either of them is just essentially them expressing a variation of those respective personality traits. Owen repeatedly preaches and chastises everyone who doesn't understand the dinosaurs at all, and Claire has a terrible relationship with her nephews because she spends no time with them and she's always working. How many times have we seen that before? And we even find out that Owen and Claire went on a date. But because they were two total opposites personality-wise, it didn't work out. But they go through this entire movie harping on this date and expressing how different they are. And they overanalyze each other's personalities as if they were previously in a long-term relationship prior to this movie. But it was just one date. And it's told to us over and over and over again that this is how they are. And it's told through some wooden, clunky dialogue. Oh, and this is on top of the fact that the two nephews don't get along either, and they have an antagonistic relationship. And that's also hammered home I don't know how many times on repeat in a very similar manner. And for one thing, it makes the characters feel bland as anything. There's hardly an arc for any of them, at least until the last few minutes where someone will have this last minute change of heart and they say they're going to be new people. But on top of that, the fact that 85 to 90% of their dramatic beats is all stuff that's explained to us is just boring. Rarely is there a moment for us to actually connect with them organically because they were always telling us how we should feel. And telling us how these characters feel, as opposed to them showing us how they feel, are two completely different things. And you'll get a much less emotionally engaging experience if your characters' personalities simply amount to them just saying how they are or how they feel or whatever. I mean, I know we're in a sci-fi action movies that involve dinosaurs walking around in modern day, but you want these characters to feel a little realistic and relatable. Like, the big thing for me was how I could have not cared less about any sort of romantic tension or previous interactions Owen and Claire had prior to this movie. They could harp on it all they wanted throughout here, with the two making little quips at each other at various points, but at no point did it feel like there was any actual chemistry between these two for me to go at any point, wow, I hope they change their minds and eventually get together. Now, part of it is from an acting and directing standpoint, as I never really found there to be any chemistry between Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. But again, they're both written and played as being so stiff, and they deliver each line with such a self-seriousness that it doesn't make these moments feel any fun or emotionally engaging. Now, the dinosaur action was fun, but you also need characters who you can not just take seriously, but also enjoyed following. And with these characters, I felt the former and not the latter, which would have gone a long way had they actually tried giving them more of a personality. Now, I will admit they try giving some sense of emotion, showing how Owen understands the raptors so well in these small, confined sessions he has with them. Like, we see how he's able to keep them under control, but it's still really tense at the same time as they're not necessarily friendly. But while these moments are a little more of a commendable effort, again, never did I really feel like there was an actual connection on an emotional level during these scenes. It's just Pratt telling a CGI dino, easy, and they reluctantly backed off. They try to make it through these moments, and the way that Pratt will later on chastise those for not understanding their mentality, that these dinosaurs are more three-dimensional than we could have ever thought or anything. But considering how these raptors are ready to just tear people apart at any moment, and that there's never a moment where it felt like there was any true sense of emotion, I just could not buy it. but the film will repeatedly double and triple down on this stuff in a very repetitive way, hitting the same few notes over and over again, all said through such corny dialogue that it was hard to truly find any meaning or depth to this. So, as far as characters I actually enjoyed, Omar Sy as Pratt's assistant, while a mostly thankless role, did at least have some charm to him, and I appreciated the brief time we saw him. I also liked Jake Johnson and Lauren Lapkus as the two control room employees who brought in some sense of comedic relief with their banter. Their roles weren't prominent enough that it truly elevated the movie, but it was enough of a presence that it loosened things up just a smidge. And then Vincent D'Onofrio plays our antagonist, who wants to use the raptors as military animals, and he's easily one of the best parts about this movie. He's not such a memorable villain that he's on the same level as the iconic characters from the first movie, and he's not exactly the most well-written character either. Like, he's still shown to be pretty sinister right off the bat, and you can call pretty quickly he's going to turn evil. However, D'Onofrio, at the very least, plays him up with such a larger-than-life energy that he can at least give the character interactions a much-needed boost. And generally, anytime he was on screen, I enjoyed it for what it was. And it's a shame the movie couldn't have done a better job at fleshing everyone out, because it would have added so much to its decently entertaining second half when the dinosaurs are let loose. Like, I would have felt even more on the edge of my seat rooting for these characters to make it out of there. Like, that was a major element with the first movie for me. Not only was it thrilling, but even the most minor of characters I was actively rooting for the entire time. But with this, while it did provide some mindless entertainment that worked well enough, I couldn't have cared less when it came to the characters, to be quite honest. And that caused my investment to only go so far. Jurassic World is decent. On one hand, it does go a little bigger than any of the other sequels in terms of its spectacle, and it tries to bring back that sense of wonder and awe at times, but the problem is, it winds up being only at times. While the film works enough for popcorn entertainment, it's otherwise void of any other emotion or sense of fun for most of its runtime. The characters have no real personalities, anything resembling emotion is all explained through exposition, and it still leans in too much into this self-serious tone that holds the movie back from being as fun as it could be. Once it gets to the dinosaurs wreaking havoc in the second half, it's fine enough, but because I couldn't have cared less about the characters, my enjoyment only goes so far, making for just a mixed, only somewhat positive experience. Jurassic World gets a 6 out of 10. I know some people really seem to like this one, and they'll call this the best of the Jurassic Park sequels, but it's fine, but I honestly don't need to revisit this one. Like I said, I just think it's at best decent. But stay tuned, as up next will be my review of the final film before we talk Dominion, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And in the meantime, let me know, did you see Jurassic World, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Do you think this is the best of the sequels, or is it just alright to you? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.